We're not built the same. I learned that real fast, and not having the same background, you learn real quick as a leader. That's important. You got to understand people, meet them at their level. So leading and helping is almost a synonymous if you really think about it, right? You kind of
Yeah.
want to put them in a position to succeed. And how do you put something or somebody in a position to succeed if you don't even understand who they are or what it is? Kind of figuring out who they are is critical.
I feel like when people get in trouble, it is like, oh, you only see the red flags. You don't see the good in what they're doing. And it's like, hey, don't forget this person got this person did this person brought this program to this level, all those things. So I felt like I had to push and support, which everything I said was backed up by facts.
Welcome to Unbreakable Leadership, a no-nonsense podcast for leaders who want real-world lessons. I'm Peter Pollock, and with over 30 years of military and corporate leadership, I'm here to share struggles, successes, and practical advice that actually works. We'll look at real leadership stories that matter, focusing on attention, integrity, and growth through failure. Let's get started. Hey folks, this is Peter Pollock, Unbreakable Leadership. I am trying a first today with my podcast. Instead of one guest, I have two guests, and these two guests are super special to me. They've worked with me on numerous occasions, and I had the pleasure of retiring one of them, and we won't reveal that until the end of the show. But so Tony Bostic, Anita Bostic, how are you guys doing? And welcome.
Thank you. We're doing great.
Okay, you guys going to talk the same the whole time? All
No,
right,
no, no.
cool.
Ladies
We'll figure
first.
it out.
Go ahead.
All right, so actually, let me ask Anita first. Then, could you introduce yourself? Tell me where you're from, why you joined, and when you retired, and what do you do now?
All right. I am Anita Bostic. I joined in 2000. My parents were moving to Billings, Montana, and I was in Wyoming.
Okay.
And I didn't want to stay. I didn't really want to go. It was kind of like a lateral move to go, or just, go to a community college or try another college. And I was just like, hey, I am going to join the Air Force. I didn't tell my parents.
I know about that.
I called them from the Denver Meps and I said, hey, I'm not coming to Billings. I'm in Denver. And, I went and did my thing. They came to my graduation, and the rest is history.
That is awesome. How many years did you spend in the Air Force, Anita?
25 years and 9 months.
And how many of those years did you spend at Wyoming?
12.
12.
Well, I wanted to get away from Wyoming, and I went right back and didn't leave.
I thought that was the funniest thing in the world. That's awesome. And what do you do now? So you retired a couple of years ago, or last year, right? When did I?
Last year. So
Last year, right.
officially, I retired a couple months ago,
Oh,
January
okay.
1st, technically.
Okay.
I got the last of the skill bridge. So
Nice.
during my skill bridge, I did real estate. I got my real estate license, and
Good for you. Congratulations. That's awesome. How's that going for you, the real estate?
I just started. So
Yeah.
little
Okay.
dabble here and there.
All right. Are you doing it independent as an independent contractor? Are you with a company like Keller Williams? What are you with?
So you have to, you can't just start out independently. You have to start out with a broker. So I'm with a company called Call It Closed.
Okay. Call it close?
Call It Closed.
Call it
Like
close.
we're calling all the closed
All
deals.
right. I get that. Call it close. That's a nifty name. All right. So you're from Wyoming. Your parents moved to Montana. Got it. Tony, what about you, man? Where are you from? Oh, sorry. You from Detroit.
Why? Sorry. What do you mean?
Go blue.
I don't know
Congratulations.
nothing sorry about that right now.
Talk to me about you and how did you run into Anita, and then tell me the rest.
Okay, so all right, so we can start with the military. So I grew up in Detroit. I'm a Detroit, Michigan kid. Michigan everything, Detroit everything, Tigers, Lions, all that. So it was during a time frame when I got out of high school. I decided to kind of go to college, tried to go to college, figured out that I didn't understand what room and board and tuition costs, so I really couldn't afford it. And my mom couldn't afford it because we were poor, man, like super poor. Um, so being like the kind of the man of the house, and I had to figure out something that made sense for the family. A buddy of mine said he was going to join the Air Force. I thought he was lying. Um, so he was actually my best friend. So he said, "Hey, let's go check it out." So we went down to MEPS, and I was like, "Man, I can get all this and kind of like take care of my family." And he said, "Yeah." So I joined. Went into BMT. Thought we were going to. The recruiter lied to me too. By the way, thought we were going to be hanging
No,
out.
recruiters don't lie, Tony. Come on.
Oh yeah, they tell
They don't lie.
white lies, a bunch of them. But he told me, we're gonna be good to go. He looked at my stuff. I was like computer program and all that other crap. That you have the opportunity. Man, went down to BMT, and these guys told me you're gonna be capable of protecting nuclear weapons, and you can arm with a weapon. And I'm like, what? So made me a defender. So 28 years later, right? Fell in love with it. I was a defender through and through. I tell you, this is nothing I would rather have done. I learned a lot of hard lessons. Met some great people, and I met this
You
beautiful
married
woman
one of them.
here. Yeah, met her in the gym. Man, it was a weird thing how we met. it, it was weird. So I go in the gym and she's like harassing me. She said, "Oh, how are you doing? You man?" I was like, "Oh, Indian women are aggressive."
I gotta do more of this two people talking to, especially husband and wife, so the real stories come out, right?
Yeah, she attacked me. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I had to call the law enforcement patrol to get away from me. And after that, I asked her to get married, and then I was it.
Yeah, because she wouldn't leave you alone. Is that right?
She wouldn't. It's like she was
Man,
psychotic. It was insane.
I thought the story that I heard is that you were making way too much noise on the basketball court, and she came out there and said, "Hey, you got to keep it down out here. We got people around here." That's a false story. Is that a false story, Tony?
I mean, potato. People say things. Like who knows what the truth is? I have my truth. They have theirs. Let's not look at it.
Oh, we're going to talk about lots of truths today,
Oh,
my friends.
I'm all about that. I'm all about
So
some
what do you do now, Tony?
So right now I'm current project manager at SBC, the Small Business Consulting Corporation. We're attached to A5N at Global Strike Command, so I kind of lead counter Suez and security operations as a project manager for the company.
Very nice. That's awesome. And little story for the folks out there who's listening. Oh, 41 of you who am I subscribed? No, I'm kidding. All right. Uh, Tony and I actually work for the same company. I'm not employed by SBCC. I contract with them, so I'm like a sub, and they own a contract that I sign a contract with them. So I teach leadership, and I absolutely love it. Oh my god, teaching leadership virtually from home. Sometimes they're really long days. Because have you heard about the F.E. Warren cohorts we're doing right now on
Yes,
leadership?
they got a lot going on out there right now.
Yeah, yeah. So we're teaching all 1,300 defenders out there, right? They're all going through our class, right? And we're on cohort 4. We just finished cohort. They're 9-hour days, man. They're 9-hour days with these A1Cs. And it's great. We're really connecting with these kids and stuff like that. But oh my God, they are long days when you're trying to talk for 9 hours. So it's a long day. Well, that's good. And how did I meet you guys? Where were you guys when I met you?
Kadena Air Force Base.
Yeah, what year do you remember?
15 maybe.
Maybe
16.
Earlier.
Oh, 13.
14.
Yeah. When was the cop commander removed? This is when Tony first ran into me. When was the cop commander removed?
I got there after they were removed. I was there
Okay.
she was there for probably about a year. And then I showed up. And then of course
So
Colonel
maybe
Sarah Babbitt came up.
okay. So Anita, you said 2015, which is so I left in I left in 14, came back in 15. Cause they only kept me 1 year, and then Lovett said come back. So 14. So I must have met. Did I meet you guys first when I got back? I must have, because if you weren't there when I almost said his name again, when the commander was removed, then I wouldn't have met you guys until I came back.
We were there 13 through 17, right?
I remember your name, like you put on Fulbert and all that, but I didn't know you. I really knew you when you became the commander.
Yeah. Okay. So you were in the FSS. Yeah. When I was the MSG deputy, obviously you're not gonna run into the MSG deputy every day. So okay, cool. So Anita, let me ask ask you, when did you first become a supervisor?
Ooh,
When? Maybe 2006.
What rank were you? Is that easier?
Staff sergeant.
Staff. Okay, staff. What was the first lesson you learned as a staff sergeant?
As a staff sergeant?
Yeah, come on. I'm pulling
I
the
know.
brainry out here.
So, okay. You said the first lesson I learned as a staff sergeant.
First leadership lesson. What did you go, oh, this is what it means to be a leader?
I think for me it was like portraying that I was confident. Um, Even if I didn't know an answer, I would go learn it. I wasn't that person at the time that was like, I'm not gonna tell them if I don't know, I'm gonna know everything. So and I was married to this one, so
Yeah. So he knew
my
everything
boots
anyway. So
had to
you
be
just called him up.
shiny. Yes.
Tony, what's the answer? And Tony was like, I don't know. I'm a cop.
We had lessons of lighting the toes on fire and
fact-based data. You gotta look the
Yeah.
part.
But so you want to portray confidence. Why is it important for a leader to portray confidence, Anita?
so people can trust you and in the ability that you can lead them properly.
Trust. We're gonna drill down on some of these. Tony, what about you, man? When did you first become a supervisor, like on paper?
Supervisor on paper, probably as a senior airman at the ALS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What was the first lesson you went? You learned, and you can't
Oh
say
man,
confidence.
we not built the same. I learned that real fast, and not being from the same, not having the same background, not being the same kind of a person. You learn real quick as a leader that's important. You got to understand people. You got to understand and meet them at their level.
Okay, so there we're going. You have to understand people. Why is it important to understand people, Tony?
Oh, because you can't properly lead them. Like, so leading and helping is almost a synonymous if you really think about it, right? You kind of want to put them in a position to succeed. And how do you put something or somebody in a position to succeed if you don't even understand, who they are or what it is? So kind of figuring out who they are, is critical. And when you realize that you are not the same person as the other person, meaning that you don't receive information the same way they receive it, you got to adjust your delivery. So it took me a little bit for that, especially it come from my world. Man, my world was all blunt force trauma.
Understanding people is great. And you coming from your background, you had to taper that a little bit, right? You had to, yeah, because everyone's different, right? But what are you really talking about here? It's a word beginning with C. What do you need to do with your people? You need to communicate. There's one more level. If you communicate, what do you need to do? It's like plugging two things together. Connecting. If you could connect with your people, is super important in leadership. Talk to me about that, Anita. Did you feel like as a leader you had to connect with your people, or that it helped you out? Yeah,
Absolutely. And like he said, getting to being on their level and getting to know who they are, like that's the only way you can connect with them to see where they're coming from.
absolutely. And so what was the most interesting connection that you made with somebody initially? And when did the light bulb go off and go, "Oh wow, this is cool."
I was just telling him about it earlier. So it was at Kadena. I was a young tech sergeant when I got there. And it was at the time I treated everyone the same. So when I was at FE Warren, I did a lot of missile feeding time. So it was you're out there by yourself, so you're not really supervising a group of people at the time. Um, so at that time, I treated everyone the same, gave the same feedback, asked the same questions, and I expected the same response, but I didn't get the same response. And I'm like, oh, there was this one guy, and I felt like the feedback was like 2 hours, and one feedback got through to the girl in like 30 minutes. And we connected and we had the same goal and everything. And the other guy, we didn't. And I was like, what is wrong with this guy? I said the same thing. Why did she get it? Why did he not get it? And then later, I think it was when like the colors test and stuff was like a thing, and we did it, and I was like, oh, click. You know what? he's not the same as her, and she's not the same as him. And when I spoke to him in the way he understood, it clicked, and he understood. So that was my light bulb moment.
Yeah, I love that. That is freaking unbelievable. Connection, and you understand that people are different, and you had a light bulb moment where you're like, you know what? Not everybody's a robot, right? Not everybody's a robot. Not everybody's the same. Those people. Well, we'll talk about the cops, and the cops are gonna hunt me down and shoot me because they're a little bit different anyway. But um, but they have a different job, so they kind of got to be different, right? A little bit, right? Can you understand that they're different from FSS people, right? Yeah, a lot of it. So explain that to me. So how do you connect with cops, Tony, as a leader?
I mean, so I really kind of removed the cop thing when I'm talking to them. I got to figure out who the human is. So when you're talking to them, you figure out what their wants and needs are. You also kind of figure out why they're here. What's their purpose. Then you try to kind of tie it into what we're doing as a force. But at the end of the day, it's ultimately like you got to get that individual to understand that your job is just important as somebody else. And once they start to feel ownership of that, it becomes a lot easier to lead them because they understand why you have certain tasks for them to do, why you need them to learn this and pay attention to that. And then it kind of drives other conversations too, like, hey, so what did you do when you were at this level, like as an A1C or so on and so forth. And the more you talk, the more you communicate, the more you connect. But it has to be valuable communication though, right? You can't just go out there and just say, "Hey, let me see your SSIs," and you check them, blah blah blah. All right, you're good to go. And then you roll out the AO. That's not how that works. You want these guys to you want these guys to want to knock walls down for you, right? Because you got to think about it. They are the ones who are protecting the installation, every blade of grass, every building, every person. So they got to think a little different. So
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys. Yeah, I'm glad you guys talked about communication and connection and light bulb moments and stuff like that. Tony, when was the first decision that you made that wasn't quite correct and that you learned from it?
my first one or my worst one? Like I had a ton.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about your first one, and then we'll talk about your biggest one.
Man, that's like 20 something years. I can't remember my first
Come on,
one.
man. You're a smart dude. You're from
I can think of
Detroit.
some bad ones I've done
Okay, bet. Let's
at
talk about
an
that then.
early stage.
Let's talk
Okay.
about that.
Okay, as an early stage, there's a couple times as a fire team leader that you kind of have an expectation of who you are and what you want your team to look like. And I remember being a airborne, not airborne fire team leader, but a facility fire team leader in the WSA. It's called an AFT, it's Alert Fire Team, and you would have these guys who would just be slacking and slacking and slacking, and then we have like, hey, you know what? You don't wake up and do your job, bro. You're gonna do the star pain, and the star pain is basically you're gonna grab your gear and you're gonna run to each corner of the WSA until I'm tired, right? And sometimes that stuff will happen because they were being lazy. But what I noticed was that this one kid was really staying up late, and it's because he was kind of worried about what's going on at home, and he also was trying to take care studies. So after he did a star pain, he didn't say much, and I was like, "Hey, did you understand? Why we did this?" And he was like, "Yes, that's our blah blah." Kind of like give me a little attitude. Then after Garmount, I was talking to one of his buddies, and that's part of me kind of connecting people. He's like, hey, it's R&B, such and such is going through this and this and that. And I'm like, why he say nothing? He was like, because he kind of think you like you ain't gonna care. So I'm like, that's not true. I'm saying I'm talking to you, right? And so when I realized, that's the persona I gave him, I went and talked to him, and then I found out what was really going on. So I really kind of felt bad because it was counterproductive, right? Like even though he's supposed to have been alert while he's on duty, um, he had all this extra crap going on. Now he wasn't my troop directly, but he was my fire team member, right? So you got to kind of be aware of what's going on before you start, dishing out adjustments for people who are wrong. Now, my biggest mistake, man, it was probably I was at Kadena, but I actually I went to IUD. All right, so I was a young master sergeant, right? And I arrived to the installation, and it was we had like 100 something man flights, like 107 people, 100 I don't know. And it was some guard people, and I had another six master sergeants with me. And these master sergeants were from the reserves, and they didn't know how to master sergeant, right? And I had a senior.
No, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. Don't edit that.
They were good people. They were 100% good people. They just like it was, it's a little bit different. Like I was flight chiefing before, so I kind of knew how to operate. So the senior came in, and she wasn't it. She was on staff forever, and she didn't understand how flight rosters, all that stuff. So I kind of noticed that after the first couple of days. So I told her, I said, "Hey, listen, ma'am, check this out. You can go ahead and go forth and kiss babies, handshakes, and be the morale person and be sure everybody's good to go. I take care of all the paperwork and administration and all the other crap, right?" Um, and I was dead serious, like real world, like because I don't want you to screw this up because we got people who got things going on because she was a right. So she didn't take well to that. She took offense to it. She took offense that I undermined her authority. I didn't trust her leadership. Uh, I was insubordinate. Um, and I was like, I did not understand it. I really did not. So I had to step back a little bit and see was there any fault in my ways, how to approach her, and I talked to a couple of those math sergeants. They were older than me, but they were young too. And they was like, "Hey, well, you probably came off like she didn't know what she was doing." And I'm like, "She didn't." And they was like, "That's exactly what that's exactly what the problem was." And so that mistake was man, I was too front, too blunt, and I didn't realize my role as a young math sergeant. Like even if you see faults in the leaders above you, you have to be able to massage the message and be their helper, right? Because no leader wants to seem like they don't know what they're doing. You just got to put them in a position where they're successful, and when a leader's successful, then everybody is. And I took that hard. You can ask Anita. I was mad forever. I was like, I cannot stand this person. But I got humbled a little bit.
Yeah. So it's interesting. That's a great story, and I'll tell you why. And Anita, you better be thinking about your couple answers here in a minute because I'm going to ask you the same questions. But Tony, what happened there was obviously, and you know this, but I'm just telling the audience. What happened there is what you think that you're portraying and what a person receives are usually two completely different things,
Absolutely.
right? Two completely different things. It's like I know how I think I am. I know how other people think I am, but then I'm really how I actually am, right? So I'm three different people. It's the same in leadership, man.
It is.
What you intend to portray and what they receive sometimes is two very, very different things. So
Absolutely.
so being self-aware and having I'm glad that happened to you, Tony. I'm glad that happened to you, and I bet you are too, right? Because
Yes.
that woke you up and said, you know what? Maybe I do come across like this, right? And maybe yeah. So I'm glad that happened. People learn when that happens. Anita, let's go to you. What was your biggest like? And it wasn't in my office, trust me.
It was. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding.
Was he the
He had
commander?
he had just came.
Oh, he just came. Oh, okay.
So I'll tell two stories that happened in two different times, but they kind of connect like my lessons learned reflected when it happened to one of my troops. So I was removed from a wing position at Kadena. And I still to this day don't really know why. Nobody knows why. The chief had came and grabbed me and he was like, "You don't even know, do you?" And I didn't. I had no idea. I worked for a captain and I still to this day don't know. And it got to the point where um I was doing, whatever volunteer events for the wing or whatever. And this captain emailed the Projo this long email saying, "Hey, I fired her from when she worked for me, blah, blah, blah. But the moral of the story is not that. It's that I had the best chief, the best first sergeant, one of the greatest commanders that supported me, one of.
No, 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 no. I don't know who she's talking about. She must be talking about Kathy Jordan.
um, but during that time, I was a young tech sergeant, and I didn't know what I know now as far as like the behind the doors conversations, what happens. I just knew like bits and pieces what was being told. But what I did know is that the shirt and the chief and the commander 100% supported everything I was doing, to the point where that commander brought that captain in and said, "You talk to her one more time, you're going to be in my office again, and it won't be this nice." So it was, and I'm hearing this from the chief and the first sergeant. It was just humbling to know that no matter what, that they had my back. But at the same time, I had this one in my ear too. He was like, "You got 2 days to get over this, blah, blah, blah." Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I don't know where I'm going to go. And
Get over it. You.
I went back to FSS, and you know what? Then I met the greatest commander ever.
We were happier for it. So tell me, so what's the second story, Anita?
So I'll continue and say, like, my supervisor at the time too, was, she knew the story, and she was like, "Hey, don't worry about it. There's no starting all over. You just keep pressing, do what you do." And I did, and I overcame whatever it was. And like I said, I still don't know what the issue was at the time. When he was still like spreading rumors, like 6 months later, the chief was like, "Maybe you just look like somebody that he hates." I don't know. And
Who
I was
was
like,
that captain?
Oh my goodness.
Kerrigan, Josh, I think Josh Kerrigan. And he was like, "You can't go to
I
EO."
unfriended his ass on Facebook, if that means anything. All right, cool. All right, continue the story.
So I a couple years later, not a couple, maybe like a couple bases ago, or a couple bases later, I have a troop that rock star, like, promote now, EFDP highlight. Everyone loved this person, all this stuff, doing great, and then got in trouble. And I did feel like, when people get in trouble, it is like, oh, you only see the red flags. You don't see like the good in what they're doing. And it's like, hey, don't forget, this person got this person did this person brought this program to this, to this level, like all those things. So I felt like I had to push and support, which everything I said was backed up by facts. But the lesson I learned is, the member still has to be punished. Something still has to happen, because it happened again, like a year later, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Message.
So right, and I have this one in my ear, like, "Oh, you guys are cops, so
Well,
blah blah."
Tony just tries to solve shit. He's a dude. That's what we do. We just solve shit, right? And we can never understand when you guys don't listen to us because we just solve shit, right? Tony, they don't want us to solve shit. All right. They just want us to listen. So shut up and just listen to Anita, right? Yeah, I still try and solve shit for my daughters. And they're like, "Dad, just listen." And I'm like, because I'm a solver by nature, right? We're solvers by nature, right? Anyway, An- Anita, that's a great story. I want to bring your attention. That story you told me about your troop, that was great, great, great. Got in trouble. You advocated for them. Do you remember you and the master sergeant at the time who retired as a chief, your boss? I forget her name.
I know who he's talking about.
Diekman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Springs.
Yeah,
Whatever,
springs down.
whatever. Same thing.
Same.
You guys came up to my office. Do you remember what it was for? You were doing the same shit. You were advocating.
Oh, was it the staff sergeant, the dude?
No, I think it was a female, right? I don't remember who it was.
Isaiah wasn't Isaiah? Didn't he get in
No.
Okay, so two
I think
things,
it was.
right? I
Oh. I disagreed. We were not on the same page.
Yeah, no, we weren't. Talk to me about that.
Um, so are our names going on this podcast?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
No, no, no. Just say M and X or
Okay.
Y.
So, man, I totally forgot about this situation. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, you disagreed with me vehemently, and I listened. But anyway,
Yes. So what I remember is I think it was senior airman to staff, and you had like a million to give out. And you're like, nope, just because it's one, I'm not giving, or just because it's this many, I'm not giving all of them out. And I agree. I agreed. But who you gave it to is who I did not agree with. And I had a list of reasons why. I'm sure I brought it to your desk, but the master sergeant at the time, I think this airman was working. Her boss was someone that master sergeant liked and valued. Um, and he got in her ear, and then she, it was like a ripple effect of like, oh, I'm going to support him, and he's going to support her, and I'm like, man, she's combative with everything. And I was like, I don't think that she's ready to have. Maybe she's ready to promote, but she's not ready to have that promote now because that says something different. And she didn't agree. I mean, we can agree to disagree. So
yep.
that is what it
What
is.
did I end up doing in that situation? Do you recall?
I think you brought them in. Did you remove it? I don't remember.
No, he didn't. I remember. I
So
remember
no, I didn't.
because he was mad.
But I also gave you a reason why I didn't think the other person was ready for staff, right?
I
And
don't remember. Did I have another name?
yeah, so I truly believed, and I actually went to the other commanders and told them this, dude. If you have 20 to give away, you do not have to give away 20 just because you have 20. There, there are great senior airmen out there who are ready to be staff. But just because you have 20 doesn't mean you need to immediately promote everybody, right? They have to be ready to take on the challenge of being a staff sergeant. And that's what I was trying to get through to you guys. And I think actually we came out with a mutually acceptable agreement. Or maybe you walked outside and told Deekman, I fucking hate that dude. I don't know.
Something I agreed on that you did, and that I probably took with me like subconsciously. Like you said, you've already announced it. You had already announced it, and I do think, like, looking back, probably at the moment I was young and I did or younger, and I was like, "Whatever, I wanna win." Um, but looking back, I probably woulda did the same thing you did, is because you did already announce it. And something that I do or did, because of stuff like that, is I got buy-in from all leadership before we make those decisions in public. And sometimes people hated that they said, "Oh, she's got to have a meeting for a meeting," but you know what? It's something that saved us from making a decision publicly without getting everyone's buy-in.
Tony, you probably heard all these stories, right? Let me ask you a question.
That's tough because I had some dogs. I had some leaders that were. I had some commanders that were pretty outstanding. I mean, you look at I had people that who led me who people hated, and I'm like, I don't see what you see. Um, man, I can tell you this one that I admire the way they carried themselves through some of the most adverse situations ever. Um, was Colonel Sarah Babbitt. I would have to, and it's not because she was the toughest or she was the smartest tack. tacticianist, or she was a she handled the adversity that we were going through at the second with such grace and such leadership that I couldn't I couldn't ignore it. Like it was amazing for one, and people might feel a certain way about this, but I don't care. Like the security forces career field has so much machismo. It's like a male dominated kind of AO alpha kind of, and she doesn't present that right, um, but she presents respect, if that makes sense. And like she walks in the room and like and she speaks, and it's not like she's coming in all tough, chest out, and all that. She's like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's always like, "Hey, how can I help you?" type deal. And then the stuff hits the fan, she leans on her people who she knows has an expertise in that area to get us across the finish line, and she's not afraid to make a decision that kind of will hurt some people. But at the end of the day, it's for the greater good. So her ability to handle the stress, I admired. She would still come in, her nails still done. Freaking, I seen commanders hair falling out, freaking uniform got some stuff spilled on them because they was all pissed and just dropped their coffee. But I've never seen her rattle. Like it was amazing. It was an
So
amazing thing
you
about
went over two things, two quality traits that I heard. Presence. So she had presence. Yep. And she didn't command it, but she earned it, right? Yeah. And the second thing is that she trusted her people. She trusted her people. And she didn't pretend she knew everything. She trusted her people. Yeah, commanders don't know everything. Anita knows that. I was a commander. See, she knows that I didn't know anything about the FSS, about the services side of the damn squadron. I should have stuck with the damn MPF. All right. Now, and Anita, I'm going to come to you, and you don't have to talk about me, but I want to ask Tony one thing. Think of your worst leader that you've had. No names. Why were they bad?
man. So I can't use explicitives.
I can. I'll translate. I'll translate for the Detroit person right there.
You translate. So one thing that I cannot stand from a leader is when they lack the ability um, to deliver the message in a manner that is palatable to everybody, right?
Well, that's a very diplomatic way to say it.
And I was trying to find the best way. Like when you can't lead people and you are called a leader, you are worthless to me. You are counterproductive. You are somebody who when like okay, so put it this way: you need to have a healthy dose of fear to lead. Period. A healthy dose of fear has to be, but that fear needs to be a mixture of hey, I'm afraid to do wrong, and I'm afraid to disappoint this person. Right? It shouldn't be I'm afraid to do wrong, but this person is crazy. He or she might do something to hurt me or hurt my career out of spite. Right? And the leader that I'm talking about was a master of being an idiot at that. Like it does not matter whatever um, his CGOs, his FGOs would do, his senior listed leaders would tell them they will always go forth with what they want to do, and then they deliver the message to the airmen like they're peasants. Like leaders just lead, like they lead no matter where you will follow. I said this during my anytime I speak to people. Um, if following is beneath you, leading is beyond you, right? You can tell that dude was always in a position where he felt that he had to lead or he never was able to follow somebody and understand what his follower is. And so yeah, that was my experience with a dude that come with a red nose and big shoes.
Some. So he was an ass clown. Is that what you're saying?
Facts.
That's what you wanted to say, right?
Fact based
Uh,
data.
yeah. Some people are not. Yeah. Some people are just like you're trying way too hard and you're making a fool of yourself. I get it. I've seen that before. Anita, thanks, Tony.
Yes.
Anita, think of a trait of one of your best commanders. Honestly, swear to God, what's the one thing that made them special?
Um, Transparency. So I'm gonna put you. Whoops. I'm gonna put you and one of my Minot commanders in the same category. Actually, I had two commanders in Minot that I really enjoyed as well. And it was the transparency. So you and this other commander, what y'all both did, and I, to be honest, I haven't seen another commander do it. Is when we had those deoxes, um, y'all filtered it through, shared it with the squadron, and then said, "Hey, you're right. I did fail at this, or we did fail at this, but you took full ownership." And this other commander I'm talking about, he took full ownership too. And what you did was that, and I think it's everywhere, now that I'm older in the ranks too, it's you're one person. You can't be everywhere. And it was like everyone wants everyone to be everywhere. It's like, oh, the chief ain't here, the senior ain't here, the commander's not here, the deputy's not here. It's like you're one person. You got all these things to do, but you put it on your calendar to make an effort to, like, hey, every Friday we're gonna come around and say hi, whatever. The first couple times it was cool, then sometimes it was kind of awkward, like, what are we gonna tell them this week? But y'all made the effort to do it, and I appreciated that. Um,
Hmm.
Let me ask you the reverse now. Who
yes.
was your worst command? Not who. Don't say my name. But what was the trait of your worst commander that you were like, dude, that guy or gal's got to go?
They couldn't make a decision. That's the worst ever. And I'd come home and tell Tony, I'd be like, I gave her these slides 5 months ago, and here we are at like crunch time, still didn't make a decision. And the answer was always like, I'm the commander,
I
so
know
I
that.
make the decisions. And I'm like, I don't care who you can take all the credit, but just make a decision so I can take care of my people. And then, oh, it was the worst. Yeah, just not making a decision.
Hey, you know, I, I was just thinking, man, it was another commander I had that was great that he did something that I have an incredible amount of respect for. Um, his name was Nate Aiken, right? This man, thinking about this dude is crazy. This man was put through the ringer, like from the IG from his previous base, all kind of crap that he was dealing with. He came in the squadron um, with all that stuff weighing on him, and then he got to the unit, and the MASHCOM commander was after him. It just didn't make sense. And he came into the unit and he told every defender that he loved them. He was like, I love you, and this is why I love you, and this is why I need to love you. And then he said, love is not always something that I care and hug for you. Sometimes I love you and I have to put you, I have to discipline you, right? And I'm only doing it because I want you to be better. And you know how you hear people say buzzwords, you just say stuff like that, and you be like, okay. Man, I watched that man move for 2, 3 years, and he meant every word. Every I've never seen nobody do that. And I could not mention him like I had to
Okay.
when I speak about great leaders. Like he
We'll
was that.
make sure we hashtag his ass. All right. Um, yeah. Okay. so, so it's interesting you say that. So, in you called it love, and I'll call it. I gotta ask Anita what she thinks of this, and I'm scared of the answer, kind of. But some people call it love, some people call it empathy, right? I call it human skills. What do you think? I mean, is love and empathy human skills? Yeah. So Anita, I'm gonna ask you. In my very first podcast, I had a guy named Jack Briggs, a retired Major General. I worked for him twice. I was a commander for him at Largest, and I was his MSG deputy at Bagram. By the way, when Tony was playing Call of Duty during the attack, when you called him and said, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die," and he goes, "Man, I have to get off these streets, man. What are you calling me for?" No, he didn't do that. All right. So I asked him. I asked him on the podcast. I said, what trait do I have? Do you think that makes me a good leader? And he did not hesitate. He said empathy. I about fall off my fucking chair when he said empathy. I was like, oh my God, I am the least empathetic person in the world. He said, no, you're actually quite empathetic. Anita, now that was from my boss, from someone who worked for me. Am I empathetic?
I think that you are. Like, I think that there's a shell that might be portrayed, but deep down you are empathetic. And I don't know if you remember this, but when we were at Kadena, I think I was walking the halls one day and you said, "Hey, come in here for a second," and sat down in your office. And you said, "Hey, I'm the new guy here. What's the word on the streets about the new guy?" And I
I
was
did?
like, yes, you
Wow. Okay.
and I think I say that's empathetic because you cared and you wanted to know what people thought, so you can adjust if need be. I think PT was like the big thing, but I appreciated
I
it.
love that.
But everyone was like, "Oh, what's the point? Blah blah blah." You know, why do I have to get a 90 once a year if I got to get a 90 every month? And I think that I understood what you were doing and where you were coming from, and then I lived with this guy, so that didn't really help. Um, I appreciated your PT program though, and to be honest, the whole Air Force is doing it now anyway. So look what you did.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because eventually you did. I know at first you did not, correct? At first you were like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" Be honest with me. You love me. I know you love me, but you were
So I enjoyed it. I like doing group PT and connecting and being together. What I didn't like is all the whining and the complaining and the let me go to medical and get out of this. And it was like, hey, just go do it. The time that you take to complain and go to medical is more time than if you just do it. But anyway. But yeah, I agree with your boss. I think you are empathetic and that you care about the people. And I think eventually you did see like, okay, I think the stats spoke for itself with the PT, but I think you went from 3 days a week to 2 days a week. I mean, that was something. So
but we also went from multiple failures to zero failures. All right. All right. We're at 47 minutes. You guys got one question. One question to Professor Pollock about anything. Anything's on the table. I'm an open book, man. And I actually have the power to stop this if I don't like the question. Anyway, I'm kidding. So, any question? We'll start with Tony. What have you always wanted to know? And it can be the stupidest thing in the world. It doesn't. It really doesn't have to do with leadership if you don't want to. But I'd prefer it to be about leadership. But it doesn't have to. It'll probably be edited out anyway. So, what is the what? What's the one question you always wanted to ask me? You guys froze. Yeah, I can hear you now. You're just fuzzy. That's all right. You're like a big fuzzy bear from Detroit.
No, no, I mean there's no such thing. So I do got a question. I want to ask this to most commanders that I got some respect for, right? To get a real qualified answer. What is your definition, or not say definition? How do you measure the importance of like having a degree that separates
hmm.
a senior enlisted leader from an officer? Like what is because I understand how the Air Force is kind of made up with, and it says, hey, you have your degree and you become an officer, and then throughout those years, they have different experiences that kind of create and develop them as leaders, as officers, and become commanders. But some of the stuff I never really understood was, man, I had a lieutenant that comes in and he has a bachelor's degree, but I got a tech sergeant who's working on his master's, and his experience is a lot more. So, what is your thoughts on that? Like, is that degree that important, or
I
is it
I, I
something
got
else?
I got so much for you, man. So much for you, Tony. So the Air Force puts a certain weight on a degree. right, for officers. I've seen some of the stupidest officers in the world that have multiple degrees. And I'm like, I mean, I teach AU. I teach leadership and command for fucking AU, man. Oh my God. Some of these people, I'm like, do you, where'd you go to college? Where'd you go to school, man? They probably went to University of Michigan or some shit like that. Okay. So that's an Air Force institutional value, right? That they put on being an officer. I love your your example about the tech sergeant who was working on his master's. That's great. Education is education, dude. How good are you as a person? I don't care how book smart you are. Are you people smart? And so that's really the answer to your question, Tony, is that I value people smarts over book smarts any day of the week. But it's an institutional value that we've placed on degrees. And that tech sergeant that's working on his master's, maybe he couldn't make it into OTS. Maybe his AVOQT sucked. I don't know. I'm trying to get a guy in now to OTS, and his first time AVOQT scores were not strong enough. Second one, he got a little bit better. But oh my God, he's 35. He would run circles around these 20, 22, 23-year-old lieutenants, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Air Force will accept him, because they're looking for a certain cut value, which is so they place an emphasis on test scores and degrees. As a leader, people smarts are way more important to me than any book smart whatsoever. Because I'll be honest with you, I have multiple degrees. I'm not the smartest motherfucker in the world, man. But I can talk to people and I can connect with people. And Anita knows that because she's heard me speak about leadership. That's what separates us. Does that make sense, my friend?
Oh yeah, that's I mean that's how I feel. I was just wondering your take on it.
Yep. Okay. We gelling. We gelling. All right, cool. Anita, one question.
I feel like I can ask you whatever, whenever, but I will ask, what do you think? I'm going to hit you back with the questions you asked us. What are your biggest lessons as being a leader? How about as an officer to enlisted? Like, what lessons did you learn that say, hey, as an officer, this is this, and I have to treat the enlisted like this?
That's a tough question. We need to stop this podcast right now. I'm going to cancel the.
Because enlisted has different requirements.
Ask the question another way. I'm struggling with this one. Ask it another way. What's my biggest what?
Lesson that you've learned, or that you were like, okay, because when you're a lieutenant, second lieutenant, whatever, you guys are going through your process, you guys have a career path that you have to follow, right? But when you become a leader to enlisted, it's different. So so what changed for you? What lessons did you learn, or what did you see differently that maybe enlisted don't see in officers?
I have to trust people. You have to trust people. That is the number one thing that separates a leader from a non-leader is trust. And you have to immediately build that trust. And it builds over time. It's not institutional. It's not immediate, right? So I also say that when I'm taking over a squadron, I prefer to trust them until I don't. Does that make sense? It's a huge difference. I'm not one of these guys that come in and go, they gotta fucking earn my trust, man. No, that's a stupid way to me, in my small mind, that's a stupid way to do it, right? Because you're going to be like, can I trust them yet? Can I trust them yet? Why? Trust them until they break that trust. And I've had my trust broken. And that's the biggest lesson that I've learned, is that I'm still a trust first person. I trust first. But if I put my trust in you and you put your trust in me and you break that trust, you're fucked. You're dead to me. I really believe that. And depending on what it is, it could be a one-time mistake. You broke my trust one time, you're done. Now, it's different if you make a human error. Does that make sense? Because I made a human error in command, and I was told by a flag officer, Nobody thinks you're a piece of shit. You made a human error, and people do that. But I did lose some of the folks in what I did. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Tony does too. So I lost some of the people because I broke their trust in me. So trust is something that is super important. And I tried hard. I tried to an extent to try and get it back with those people. But after a while, I respected the fact that they had lost trust in me. And I was okay. But I was also okay with the fact that I made a human error. And people are fucking human. Right? People make mistakes. The biggest thing is you got to own it. You got to be accountable and responsible. You got to own that mistake. What do you think of that answer? Knowing what you know about me. Then I have a question, and this doesn't have to go in. Knowing what I did, you were there. You saw the whole thing. Why did you ask me to retire you?
Because you were transparent and I trusted you. And I think transparency goes a long way as far as we are human. We do make mistakes. You didn't sugarcoat nothing. And you were a leader I trusted.
Man, let me tell you something. I don't trust people who squeaky clean. I just don't. Like, I'm I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Like it's something about somebody who's never made a mistake or never failed, never kind of failed adversity. That to me, I look at you as a leader, and it may be wrong, but it is what it is. I see a huge hole in you because I'm like, hey, buddy, um, when the shit hits the fan, I don't know how you're gonna respond because you've never had shit flying in your face. So how do I know if it's are you flight or fight? I need you to be fight regardless, right? So when you got somebody who got some battle scars, who made some mistakes, who whatever it was, and they lived through that, and they still standing here right next to me, or in front of me, or behind me, um, then I have an unbelievable amount of respect for somebody who can do something, make a mistake, and still kind of persevere. So squeaky clean guys, I'm kind of like, yeah, whatever, buddy. You have
I love that you said that. I love that you said that. And I really do think that the last 5 minutes of this talk have been the best and the most transparent that we've. I love it. And I hope they pick up on it and do shorts based on it because it was really good. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah.
That's why I do this. That's why I do this. Plus, I enjoy catching up with people like you guys.
And I want to add, yeah, I said I wanted to add care too. I think being a leader too, that care goes a long ways. And I live with this guy. He cares about his people. He cares about us. I care, and you care.
Man, I love my people, man.
You
Ask them
see?
the fellas who work for me. I keep it 10,000.
I have heard that. I'm gonna stop recording. Well, thanks for listening, guys. We're gonna wrap it up, and we'll see you next podcast. I don't know if I'm gonna do it with Rizzy and John. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will. I don't know. Let me talk to you after I press stop. See you guys. Strength and honor. Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable Leadership. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to follow and share it with a fellow leader. Remember, leadership is about action, growth, and staying true to who you are. I'll catch you next time for more real-world lessons. Until then, keep leading well. Strength and honor.